So we were talking about him there and that announcement in the last hour from Nigel Farage. Let's talk to him. He's the new leader of the Reform Party. Nigel Farage, thank you for being with us on BBC News. So you've tried 7 times before to do this. What makes this time different?
I've tried once. The previous time, a party, a campaign group using elections to push their message, where even saving deposits was a miracle. I tried once, and the Conservatives broke the law and cheated so badly that one of their agents got a 9-month prison sentence suspended, all right? So I'll set that record straight. I'm doing this not for me. I'm doing this because I can't let down millions of people out there who I increasingly felt over the last week felt that I'd walked away, felt that I wasn't standing up with them. And in many cases, these are people who have been with me, millions of them, for years, through the Brexit Party, UKIP, referendum campaign, and they felt they were being left alone. So I'm doing it for them. I'm also doing it for a new, younger generation that I've seen on the streets that really can't wait for something different to happen in politics. So I think something's going on out there. I think something has changed out there, and I think far from being squeezed in the election, now that we know, and by the way, in the last few minutes, there's been an MRP poll released on Sky News confirming once again that the general election is over. There's now a battle, not for who becomes the government, but who becomes the opposition in the next parliament, and that is what I think is achievable.
Why the change of heart? I think it was, 10 days ago you were asked whether you were going to stand. You said, look, you didn't have the time to go out and campaign in a constituency. You were going to go to the United States to work with former President Trump. Why the change of heart?
Well, that's a slight misreading, because what I said was in that statement that I would do my bit in the election campaign and thereafter go and spend more time in America. Now, I still want Trump to win. I still think the world will be a safer place with him. I had planned to stand. It was a 6-month plan. When Sunak announced the spring election, I must admit, it took wind out of my sails completely. I made that decision I wouldn't stand, but I've spent the last week going around the country, meeting huge numbers of people, and they have persuaded me that I really just have to do this. Whatever the risks to me are, I just have to do this. So I'm doing it, and I'm doing it with optimism. And I tell you something, UKIP got 4 million votes back in 2015 when I led it. This time, in this campaign, we're going to get many, many more votes than that.
What are they telling you on the doorstep, Nigel Farage? Are they saying, Nigel, you are the man for the job, it has to be you, no one else?
Some people are, yes. Some people are. Some people really are, because they see the two leaders of the big parties as frankly being rather weak men and not possessive of leadership qualities. That is quite a common theme. The biggest theme that I've seen out of the country, and going out to the home counties, but also up north, I've been in Nottinghamshire and Lincolnshire and Yorkshire over the course of the last week, the common theme is the things they talk about in Westminster are not the same things that we talk about at home. That somehow there is a massive disconnect between politics in London, what's happening in the country. And the choice is, the more that Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer try to be different, frankly, the more they sound the same.
The line is not the best, Nigel Farage, but we're going to persevere because it's important to be able to hear from you on this occasion as well. I just want to pick you up on that claim too, that you've only stood once before, and I put it to you that you've tried 7 times and not been successful. You've been on a ballot paper as a candidate or a prospective candidate 7 times between 1994 and 2015.
You don't get it, you people. You don't. You
no,
really
I'll explain
don't
it
get
to
it,
me.
you people, do you? You really don't get it, do you? UKIP was a campaign group who decided that by standing in elections it was a better way than getting our message out than being a pressure group. And the first election we fought, there were 342 of us that stood, and 1 person saved their deposit. That just happened to be me. We weren't there to win seats. That was an impossibility. We were there to push a cause. And that was the case for the first 20 years of UKIP's life. But you know something? As it turns out, we were the most successful pressure group in modern history.
But once again, you were a candidate. You call it a pressure group, call it a party. You were a candidate to be an MP on a ballot paper in an election.
Mate. How many times have you stood?
I
How many
haven't.
times
I'm
have you
just
stood?
asking.
What do you know about it? How many times have you stood?
I'm asking you the
There you
questions,
go.
Mr. Farage. I mean, the challenge here is people will say, look, you've tried it before,
Well, I tell you,
didn't manage
ask
to do
something
it.
intelligent.
What makes this time any
Ask something
different?
intelligent, and we'll carry on with the conversation, shall we?
I'm interested in why people should trust you
there you
that
go.
7 times
Pass.
previously you didn't manage to do
Pass.
that.
No.
You also
I think you're very, very boring, and I think your viewers will find you very boring, and you ought to do rather better as the state broadcaster, in my view.
You also use the phrase "you people." What do you mean by that?
Well, I think the metropolitan elite in London, it's quite easy to characterise as you people, and that's the point
What
I made
makes
you a few
me
minutes ago. You
metropolitan
get
elite,
outside
Mr.
London,
Farage?
talk to ordinary people, and there is a real. Well, you work for the BBC. You know, I've been in that building. Doesn't mean you are personally, but generally, politics and media and big business tend to come to the same views on pretty much everything. And as we found out in the Brexit referendum in 2015, out there in the real country, people look at things differently.
Yeah, we still have you. There is quite a poor line, so apologies if you're trying to watch this at home. The line isn't the best, but we'll persevere. No, I'm interested because there'll be a lot of claim and counterclaim in all of this election as we go ahead to July. Do you think it is a time for kind, thoughtful, inclusive politics, and not, as we've seen already 2 weeks into this campaign, that people are lobbing mud, they're throwing mud, and they're throwing pretty offensive things around?
Well, I mean, it depends what you mean by the word inclusive. If you mean that there should be no difference between the Labour and the Conservative parties, you're virtually there. I mean, you know, their defence policies are the same, their economic policies are the same, their immigration policies are the same, their solutions to the cross-channel crisis are slightly different, neither are effective. I mean, these really are, you know, this really is the choice between two big social democrat parties. I mean, there isn't really much to choose.
And so given that, by standing in this election, what do you want to change? What do you have the power to change in this general election if, as you said, this election is over, Keir Starmer has won?
Yeah. For democracy to work and function properly, you have to have a government, obviously, that does stuff, that has executive power, but you also need to have a voice of opposition to question things. I don't believe the Conservative Party today are capable of opposition, capable of opposing. They're split down the middle.
Nigel Farage, it's been good to talk to you. Thank you for being with us on BBC News. Thank you.